In example 3, we're going to need to look at our units before we can calculate our average cost per unit, because we aren't told how many partially completed units we have at the ending. So let's start with our box. We had 1,000 units in beginning work in process. We started 9,000 units into production. So we've got 10,000 units we need to account for. We completed or transferred out 8,000 units, which means our ending work in process has to be 2,000 units, since we know both sides of the box have to equal each other. Anything that we complete and transfer out, we assume is 100% complete. So 100% times 8,000 is 8,000 equivalent units. We're told our estimated level of completion for ending work in process is 40% complete. So 40% times 2,000 is 800 equivalent units. So our total equivalent units is 8,800 units. 8,800. And again, in terms of partially completed, that was 2,000 partially completed units. Our average cost per unit then, again, we'll take our total cost, $484,000, and we'll divide that by our equivalent units of 8,800 units. And we get an average cost per unit of $55. Now, to calculate our cost transferred out, we'll take our $55, multiply it by our 8,000 units that were transferred out, and we get a cost for the units that we transferred out of $440,000. The cost of our ending inventory will be, again, our $55 per equivalent unit, but this time we'll multiply not by our 2,000 units in ending work in process, but by the equivalent units of 8,000, or rather 800. 55 times 800 is $44,000 will be our cost assigned to ending inventory. Once again, we can add these two numbers together. 440,000 plus 44 is $484,000. And we can see that that agrees with the total cost that we had to account for from above. Let's take a look at another example. In this example, we're given the number of partially completed units, but we're going to have to calculate the number of completed units. So let's begin. We're told the beginning work in process is 2,000 units. We started into production 8,000 units. So we've got 10,000 units we need to account for. If we have 3,000 partially completed units in ending work in process, that means we had to have transferred out 7,000 fully completed units. And again, both sides of our box equal. In terms of our completed units, we know that they are what? 100% complete. So 100% times 7,000 is 7,000 equivalent units. Our ending work in process, we are told, is 60% complete. So 3,000 times 60% means our ending work in process is 1,800 equivalent units. So our total equivalent units for the month was 7,000 plus 1,800, or 8,800 units. So we've got 8,800 equivalent units. Our average cost per unit then, we'll take our total cost, $484,000, divide that by our 8,800 equivalent units, and we get an average cost per unit of $55. In terms of cost transferred out, we're going to take our $55 per unit, multiply it by the number of units we transferred out, which was 7,000, and we find 55 times 7,000 is $385,000. Our ending work in process will be our $55 multiplied by our 1,800 equivalent units for a total of $99,000. Again, adding the two numbers together, and we get $484,000 in total cost, which agrees with the cost we had to account for above.